Fuck You Dad.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Fuck You Dad. This week we have a Chicago comedian who released a comedy album back in 2019 called Dancing on the Titanic. It's Tucker Millett, everybody.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Thanks for
having me on the show.
Well, when did I meet you? I ran into you for the first time at the theater. What was that theater?
CIC.
CIC,
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah, I lived above that theater for like 5 years.
Yeah, you felt like you were haunting the place.
Every
Time I go there, you would just be in the corner with a notebook, and I feel like I was just talking to Tucker. You're like, Tucker died in a car accident 15 years ago.
When I die, my ghost will haunt CIC Theater.
You were just there in a notebook, kind of looking.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be at the end of the bar. I moved above. I met the guy who lived up there just because he would come to the open mic, and that was like the first place that I really went to a lot when I moved to Chicago. Was CIC. And so I became friends with the guy who lived upstairs, and we would go and like hit bong rips after the mic and shit like that. And then it happened where my housing situation kind of fell through last minute, so I was like, oh my god, I don't have an apartment. I'm gonna have to move back home to Minneapolis. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And he was like, we've got a room opening up here, and I was like, well, let's do it. And it was just such a perfect, like, as a comic living above an open mic and comedy theater, like, it was just the perfect situation because my Tuesday routine, I didn't work on Tuesdays, so I used to go to the Drop open mic on Mondays, and I'd be at the Drop till like 2 or 3 in the morning. And then I just wouldn't do anything all day, and I would like get up at like 6 p.m. and start my day, and then
roll out of bed, and
just mic. Go downstairs and do CIC.
And did you used to wear suits? Why do I?
Yeah,
you took a real sigh there that led me to believe this was a big deal.
Because I remember meeting you.
Anyone you say something, you're like, hey, did you used to? You're like, all right, let me explain.
Because to be honest, my first impression when I remember meeting you, and I was like, oh, Tucker, super funny guy, but I got like I was like, maybe he's into Jesus or something. Like, I don't know why he's wearing the suit.
I had a very like Mormon, reborn, like.
Yeah, you in the suit is a reborn Christian.
It's
vibe.
Really, it's
someone who used to smoke meth, but they saw the light. That's you.
You used to be. You used to be something.
You used to be a pretty good hang, and now you're harassing me about the Lord,
telling everybody about the New Testament.
Yeah.
So what it was is I worked at Bob's Furniture for a long time, and when I first started at Bob's, they were like all about the suit.
Right.
Like,
man,
it was like
suit at Bob's Furniture sounds hilarious in and of itself.
It was rough, man. And I wore a suit every day, and I became like a suit comic for a while because that's just what I was wearing to work. I was just going to shows and stuff after work, and I leaned into it.
I like the
for
suit.
like a solid year. And actually, Adam Burke has a thing where I think it's Adam Burke, is like every white male comic is at one point leaning into the suit. Like, it always just becomes part of their identity. And I think that was it, because I started comedy super young, and like I was always the young guy or like the teen on the lineup, and that was my identity. And then once I grew out of that, like in my early 20s, I was like, okay, well, now what the fuck am I going to talk about? What's my thing? So I became like very political, especially like right before Trump got elected. I like got really into political satire and political comedy, and then the suit thing just fit, and then it felt, I don't know, after a while, I think I just stopped wearing a suit at work, and I didn't want to put on dress clothes to go out to do a show now. No. So it was just like, it was a thing where I was like, I'm going to retire this. I'm going to go back to
Well, to be
the
fair,
beanie. Now I'm the beanie guy.
When you're talking about waking up at 6 p.m. and before the pod, you're talking about doing ass. This doesn't give me suit feels.
Yeah, no,
I was not sound like a professional man.
I was not and that's the thing, like, wearing a suit at Bob's Furniture is very fraudulent. Like, that's by
hilarious.
nature.
It's people who work at Bob's Furniture like, listen, I need to pretend I have a job.
Right. Well, it's like the same. It's the same reason I think like used car guys also wear suits, because you have to like. You need to have like some level of professionalism to make people feel like you're not a piece of shit.
Exactly.
You have to act like you're like some banker or actual business guy to like. I don't know why I said banker, but you know what I mean, like some actual sales guy to like.
So what did you sell at Bob's? Like mattresses?
All of it. Futons, stools, mattresses.
Hell yeah. Are you making commission on the stools?
100% commission.
100%?
It was
how the fuck you sell a stool, man?
people are like
I don't know if I could really tell someone about how special a stool is.
So,
It's you need one or you
weight,
don't.
the weight of a stool is a really good, quick way to feel the density of the wood, and that translates to the quality of the construction.
Oh, God.
So if you pick up a stool and it's it's really easy to move, it's probably made out of condensed wood or some kind of MDF, and so it's shitty. Or you get a nice solid wood stool, real heavy, real hard to move.
This feels
I sold furniture for 5 years, fellas.
I'm telling you, if you were wearing
I'll
a
sell you
suit,
some stools.
if you were wearing a suit right now, I'd be like, I'll buy a $75 stool.
This kind of feels like, at a bar and someone's like, what are you doing? It's really boring. You're like, no, just tell me. And they start telling you, you're right.
You're right.
You're right. We shouldn't have went into that. That was a waste of everybody's time collectively.
It is. And sales is that way where it's product knowledge, it's features and benefits, and always be closing. So that's all you're doing all day is just telling people about shit, why it's good, and do you want to buy it right now? Here, where's your credit card? Let's see your credit card.
Right.
It's literally
Bob's Furniture.
And
that's
it's a
dark.
hustle, man.
It
was a hustle. And
that's
so
dark.
I just got a new job. I'm not doing that anymore. But
Well, congrats. How'd your dad feel about you doing comedy and working in Bob's Furniture and doing that? Answer those two questions.
Honestly, so Bob,
he was probably proud of you.
Suit wins dad point.
He was I think, more proud that I had a real job that had a 401k. I think that was
Bob's Furniture.
Bob's Furniture
is giving out the 401k.
I mean, I can get into that too, but I forgot about my 401k for the first 3 years I was working there. So I didn't even realize I had it, and then I looked at my Fidelity account one day, and I was like, oh, I've been putting away a lot of money that I didn't even, because they just take it out of your check, and if you're not paying attention to it, it just kind of adds up. And so my 401k is kind of nice right now.
Good for
We
you.
got a nice little nest egg.
All right, me and Nick might have a little lick after this pub.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just bought this beer. I just gonna ask for the money back.
Yeah.
But I can't touch it until I'm 65. That's how they get you.
Ah,
I got to make it to 65.
I had a friend, hilarious comic friend. He took his out. He paid the tax whatever penalty for it and cashed his in and just had 40 grand, just quit his job and just didn't.
Is that Aaron Cobb?
It's Aaron
That sounds
Cobb,
like
baby.
Aaron Cobb.
And he was just,
it's not a bad move. I mean,
no, he's like, I just have 42. So I'm just living my life. Blew it all in a year.
I
Because
love
that's
him
what
so
you
much.
do. You live your goddamn life.
Exactly.
I think that was something I think my dad actually instilled in me was have a retirement account, have savings, because
isn't it hard right now though? Because you're are we all gonna be dead?
Well, that's why it's been so hard for me to quit smoking. Honestly, it's I don't know what's gonna kill me first, the apocalypse or lung cancer.
Yeah, when everyone's you need a 401k, I'm I need shotguns and cans of tuna in a bunker.
Yeah, that's my.
I don't need money saved aside.
I need a source of heat and canned chicken.
Yeah. I'm you look at this news. I'm I don't know if when I'm 70, I'm gonna be worried about money. We'll probably have a new currency in whatever tribe we set up.
Yeah, no,
that
is I think my biggest fear is that it all just not my biggest fear, because also it's we're talking about less than 20 grand, so it's not I got a ton of money.
Yeah.
It's not I got millions of dollars in the market.
Yeah.
It's I got
before
less
we break
than,
Tucker's door down.
I'm not the bourgeois that you think I am.
Yeah.
Okay, It was
Tucker has $500 saved, and he's I gotta really make some decisions here.
Yeah, I'm financially set. You know, I'm good. I'm good for a solid 2-3 months.
Did I hear you're from Minneapolis? Because I'm a Minneapolis kid too.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm actually from Hudson, Wisconsin, which is
not
Minneapolis.
No,
That's a
very
suburb.
close.
But I just say. It was a joke in my act for a while, but I used to say, when people ask you where you're from, they're not trying to send your parents a postcard. They just, want to get an idea of where your accent is from. And if I say Wisconsin, people think Milwaukee, and it's a very different dialect. They say, don't you know? We say, don't you know?
Yeah.
That's the joke.
Midwest culture, it's rich and
it's slightly different. I mean,
it is, I guess.
I do think, but growing up in that part of the country, it is so funny because it's the beer belly of the United States.
Oh, for sure.
Where there's I grew up in, actually, you'll appreciate this being from the Twin Cities, but in Minnesota for a long time, they didn't sell liquor on Sundays.
I know.
A Protestant law, it was
Trust
illegal.
me, my dad was very vocal about that.
Yeah.
He had a one-man protest every Sunday.
One of his favorite things to yell when he gets worked up, especially about those things, he would, because he's from England, he's British. So he's just the fact I can't go to the fucking liquor store and buy me booze on whatever the fuck day I want, land of the free my ass! Land of the free my ass! He loves
those
That would be
Lutherans
the
got
funniest thing I say is just your dad drunk in his pajamas on a Sunday being what are the
banging outside a liquor store?
Free my like trying to, as he's getting arrested. It's like that thing was, oh, I'm sorry, I thought this was America. Just going.
He was very that guy. For being from not this country, he was very patriotic.
Land of the free, my ass.
That's so funny.
That is such
He says that about sports gambling, too, because he can't technically bet on sports in North Carolina. He finds a way how to, but he's like, fucking land of the free, my ass. It's my bloody money. If I want to blow it on some stupid football game, it's my right.
I also just like how there's some people that are like, well, I just think we shouldn't have mass addiction on the cell phone.
Yeah.
It's just...
Well, gambling is an interesting thing because it is a vice, but it's also sponsored by the state. Like, there's like state lotteries, and like the state is like trying to get you to like buy scratch-offs.
It's a vice that could present itself as like an investment decision, which is crazy because you're not drinking and you're like, this could potentially save my family.
Yeah, no,
you're not drinking and being like, everything could change.
I had this realization one time. I was standing behind a guy at a 7-Eleven, and he was buying like $50 in scratch-offs. And I was looking at him down my nose like, oh, this fucking guy's wasting his money. And then I walked up and I was like, can I get a pack of American Spirits? It's like, he might hit a jackpot. I'm just killing myself. With an addiction that costs probably the same amount of money.
I mean, yeah, but it comes with hope. The gamble, you know?
That's the best part of gambling is the hope.
Yeah,
right.
Totally.
And then $300 of hope is a fuck ton of hope.
Actually, tying this back into my dad, one thing that my dad taught us how to play poker at like a very young age.
Okay.
Like, I was like
Me
8
too.
or 9.
Mafia dog.
Yeah. It was like the thing that we would do as a family. Is like we wouldn't play Monopoly or anything. We'd sit around and play like Texas Hold'em.
That's
and
kind
like
of intense.
5-card draw.
Your family just 5 white dudes drinking whiskey. Like what? Fuck is that?
Yeah, it was a weird thing because it wasn't like for money. It was just for the love of the game kind of thing. It was like it was just we were like playing like nickel, dime, quarter. You know, you just pull money. They had like this big Ziploc bag full of change that they would use.
Kenyon,
like,
they weren't playing. They weren't
not-
like, hey Tucker, break your piggy bank.
Yeah.
Okay, how much you got for your birthday?
we got you $15 on allowance.
Tucker,
You want a double or nothing?
I'd love to if you just sit down with dinner with us tonight. But you still owe me $50 from last week. So. You ain't getting none of this till you get out there and get it, bud.
My dad's just breaking my thumbs behind the house.
Yeah. Your dad,
He's like,
yeah, everybody used to get whipped just for, your dad gets a switch and he's like, if you don't pay me my fucking money back by the end of the week.
But yeah, I think it's interesting. It's almost like one of those things where, you know that thing where, and they never did this for me, but your parents will make you smoke like a whole pack of cigarettes to like make you hate cigarettes. Yeah. I think that happened with gambling for me, where like, because I did it as like a family thing, I have no interest in like going to a casino or like even when people invite me for a poker night, I never have that like gambler's urge. I have it sometimes with dice. Dice I do have where
craps.
Yeah, when I throw dice with people, that's when I'll be like, hey, you got $1? Can I steal $1, man? Like I do get that way.
Electric.
But with cards I don't. It feels like much more chill, and it's
I've been getting into playing poker a lot, like cash games in Chicago at casinos and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my dad taught
See, even the addict in me is like, oh, really?
Yeah, where are those at?
Nick's the devil. Yeah, don't.
Yeah, I am. I'm not. But my dad taught me how to play poker when I was 14, and we played like online together. So we would sit next to each other on laptops,
that's different.
Because that is real gambling. I was gambling.
This is a story in a support group that you start with. You're like, we were just online together, and they're like, anyway, my wife won't talk to me because I lost the house. You know.
But gambling in England is like it's like water. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like he brought me for my 18th.
They just love drinking all day and gambling. I would hope they managed to do anything.
Late stage empire, baby.
Yeah.
The glory days are 300 years behind them.
There's no sun. Everyone just looks like a vampire. You just get hammered all day and gamble.
Yeah. Honestly, but when I turned 18, because in Minnesota you can gamble at 18, and he brought me to the casino. That was our fun thing. He gave me $100 of his money that I lost, and he didn't get mad at me. But he would. That's the crazy thing is when he brought me to the casino and I lost $100 of his money, he wouldn't get pissed. He'd be like, having fun, blah blah blah. We go home. But if I asked him for like $10 to go to see like a movie with my friends, he'd be like, "What the fuck? Like, get off your ass and like do something." You know what I'm saying?
Why don't you put that money towards gambling?
Yeah.
Make it back.
Yeah. What you need to do, get that 10 together, bet on some stuff, then you go to the movies for days.
Put it all on black.
Yeah.
Quadruple your money. Yeah, that's. Oh, but going back to I grew up in Hudson, which is like right on the Minnesota border. Like Stillwater, Minnesota is like right across the river, right?
Okay.
And so being on the border of Minnesota on Sundays, our like entire economy was based around there were 6 liquor stores in a town of like 12,000 people.
Okay.
Holy shit.
Because like, and I never worked at a liquor store in high school, but I had friends of mine in high school who worked at these liquor stores, and they would say like Sunday was hands down the busiest day of the week because you'd have all these Minnesotans like coming over for like to buy booze on Sunday, like because it's Hudson is like outside of the Twin Cities metropolitan area, but it's like 30 minutes from downtown, so it's like
it was
you
just
get all
alcoholic
these
refugees
that
were coming to get it.
It was.
They're literally just like, please, I need help. They have the holy juice. It's like, we have it for days here. You're good.
And they sell that bullshit in gas stations. They sell like less alcoholic beer, like methadone beer.
Yeah.
Like
O'Doul's kind of, or not. O'Doul's is like fully non-alcoholic, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it has like.
But yeah, I know what you're talking about, where it's like less than a certain percentage, so
yeah,
it like skirts the law.
Right. Did we asked that? But does your dad like has he seen you do stand up?
Yeah, I mean, I started when I was 14, going on 15. So like my parents came to like basically the first 3 years I was doing stand up, but it was like I was only performing. It's not like how it is now. I was only performing like maybe once a month. I was doing like talent shows and like I did random bar gigs because the guy who got me into stand up was like my best friend's dad was a comedian. And so he ran this bar show in our suburban town that I would go do like twice a year. Okay. And then every once in a while I'd go into the cities to do open mics, but I had to bring my parents. Actually, not my dad, but my mom, because my dad was so supportive on comedy, especially when I was a teenager. He was like, you got to focus on school and not being in bars, like as a 16-year-old, which is not totally understandable.
Yeah, maybe focus on having a future. You're going to spend a lot of your time in bars.
There's that trope where like comics get mad at their parents for like not being supportive enough, and like I totally get it.
Kind of the premise of the podcast.
For me, it was like
it's a completely reasonable thing.
Yeah, if I'm in my dad's shoes, I totally get why he's like, I don't want you doing comedy because like it's just a dangerous dark road. Like he's
it's like you're yelling at the scratch off guy. This is like, what if that took 20 years? Right. What if that guy, he's just gonna fuck up first $50? You're talking about every night you're playing the scratch off
hundreds of dollars
for like a decade, and then one day you just scratch it off and you're like, oh, I didn't get it. I didn't get the special. You're just 33 with 5 roommates. And you're like, oh, I lost.
Oh,
yeah. It was supposed to be these 3 things. Yeah. You're just 50 trying to hit up your friends to come to your bar show. And you're like, oh, I lost.
Dude, I do really worry about that because
it's fun.
It'll be fine. But I have a 401k. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm fine.
Yeah, you're doing great.
This motherfucker's got $39. So
I got $39 in 401k. But I dropped out of college. Like that was a whole thing. Having that conversation with my dad, where I'm like, "Hey,
you dropped out of college to do stand up."
I dropped out of college to do stand up.
That's a big one.
I was doing comedy in high. There's a short version of it. I was doing comedy in high school, and then I went to college because that's just what you do. Like where I went to high school, like everybody I knew went to college. So, I just went to a state school because I was like, "All right, here we go." And I drank too much, and I was the whole time. I'm like, I don't want to be doing any of this.
Right.
And so I decided like October of my freshman year that I was like, I'm dropping out at the end of this year. And I'm moving to Chicago because I grew up in Minneapolis, but Chicago is always like, as we know, is like the mecca of where you cut your teeth as a comedian. And so I had always wanted to move down here, but that conversation was tough where it was like, yeah, I'm going to go for it. I'm really going to go for it. He's like, all right.
Yeah, all right, well, that son's gone.
I don't think that's a good idea, but
that's not going to work out. All right. Well, do you have any siblings?
I do.
So that's why he was like, okay.
Yeah,
he's like one out of 4 sons.
Well, actually, it's funny. I hope she doesn't listen to this. My sister got pregnant at 20. So the heat kind of got off.
So that was it. After that's a real 50-50. Like, son's spent his whole life on comedy. She's already ruined her life. Like, what? What's worse? You can still pull it together.
The heat.
Any second you could go back.
I mean, trust me, man. But once she got pregnant, like, the pressure on me to like succeed as a comedian just dissipated.
You're like, what are you up to?
Yeah, they were like,
not having kids.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm just not having kids today.
I was like, well, I got a job and I'm not living at home, so
Yeah.
with the baby.
Do you have a specific story about your dad you want to share?
Well, there's one funny thing. Like one thing I'm very proud of my dad for was when I was in middle school, he coached our middle school basketball team.
Love it.
And he was not like I think he played basketball in high school, but he wasn't like a college basketball player or anything. He just liked basketball.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't take a lot to coach a middle school team, I guess. But he did the thing. He
brought the cones.
Brought the cones and the balls and had them in the back of the trunk, and he did it for 4 years. But my dad was like the Bobby Knight of middle school basketball, where this dude was like, and I see it in myself when I do comedy, where I'm like very animated and I'm yelling at the crowd pretty much. And that was my dad just as a middle school, like a 7th grade basketball coach, where he's just like he broke a clipboard over his knee one time.
That's
like,
classic.
On a bad call. Just
Yeah.
God damn it! Like, and it was one of those things
middle
where
school is like 14.
You're like,
younger than that. It's like 12. You're talking about 12. And it was funny because, like, I think, and again, this is something I get from my dad too, but like, I wear it on my sleeve. Like, I'm not good at putting on a mask. Like, if I love you or hate you, you'll know just by talking to me. You know, it's like, I'm very transparent. And my dad, you could tell when we were like losing a game so bad that there's just no hope, because you'd see it in my dad's body language where he's just like, yeah, whatever, traveling, who gives a shit?
Yeah. Probably had money on these games.
Yep, maybe.
That'd be funny. He's like breaking the clipboards. Like, God, can we go get McDonald's after this?
$400.
Oh, we're not going to be able to go for a while, buddy. You're going to have the other team to pay for it. We would have been able to go to fucking Red Lobster. Said you won.
No, it was one of those things where, again, you're very kind of like, it's almost like you're honored that your dad is the coach. You're like, it's like a cool thing. And then at the same time, it's like very embarrassing where you're like, Dad, stop screaming at the ref. It's like we're in 7th grade.
Yeah. I told this story on a live episode before, but my dad would go watch all my soccer games, but he would always bring a 6-pack of beer.
Sure.
And it wasn't like, here, give all the dads one beer. It was, my dad is going to drink six beers.
He's got to have a good time at the game.
Yeah. And he would he would yell at me, not you, sometimes at the referee, but I could tell he didn't want to be yelling at the referee, but he would scare the shit, because the referees are like 15, 16-year-old kids. And they've got a drunk British guy being like, referee! For fuck's sake! Book it! He would always yell for yellow cards, even though like no one gets a yellow card, you know. And he would be like, "That's horrendous foul, number 12." Like he'd be yelling at number 12 should be ashamed of himself.
I just imagine like a mostly empty bleachers. Half the bleachers is your dad's beer cans. All the
other parents are congregated.
All
like
the other parents
50 feet away.
Really just like, Nick, how are you getting home?
Hey, blink twice if everything's okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that was the other thing, is when I would mess up, you know, he would just scream, Nicholas! And then I could look at the other kids on the other team, were like, which one is fucking Nicholas? Because that kid is fucking up.
Yeah. It'd be funny just to have him in your life, like a drunk dad on the bleachers, just being like, "You lost your rent money at sports, Nicholas,
yeah.
Nicholas,"
or just in the back of the showroom, just be like, "Run in the light, lad! Run in the fucking light!"
Well, that's one of those things with some hecklers. Like I don't like heckling, but I have this weird relationship with it where I do think it's necessary sometimes. Where like sometimes, especially, I guess it really depends, but there's those hecklers where they're like helping, they're not helping, but they think they're helping. Like they're not trying to be antagonistic.
I think, worse.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Those
like
are worse.
Like shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
You know, like. But it would be. Yeah, I do sometimes think like, you know, a joke bombs and then somebody says something and then it lights the room back up. Like sometimes that is actually like helpful to just keeping the energy alive.
Yeah,
because especially if you're tanking. I don't know, but it really depends. When it's happening to me, I hate it. But also, I've been in the audience before where I'm like, God, I wish I could just shout something right now, but I'm not going to.
Yeah. Sometimes when the comic sucks, anything is better. For sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, Tucker, do you have anything you want to plug before heading out?
For any comedians in Chicago that are listening, I do the 8-Bit open mic here at the Lincoln Lodge at 9 p.m. Yeah, come by, come do a bit, come hang out.
Do an 8-minute bit. Really stretch that
really
bit
stretch
out.
it out.
Stretch your legs. Fun shows at the Lincoln Lodge every goddamn
every
day.
night.
Check it
So
out.
fun.
Subscribe to the Patreon. All that shit.
All that shit, baby. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for having me, boys.
Hey guys, you just listened to another episode of Fuck You Dad. If you could follow us on our Instagram, which is FCKYOUDAD podcast. That's the important one. We also have a Twitter account, which is FCKYOUDADPODCA1. If you could follow that. Also, please submit any father stories that you have that you'd like us to make fun of, laugh at, or share. Shoot that to our Instagram DMs. And if you could please go ahead and rate the podcast, share the podcast with your friends and family that might enjoy it. And keep listening. Thank you so much.